In this video we'll be servicing a Mountfield lawnmower with a Briggs and Stratton HP470 engine. So this is what we've got with the service kit. Got a spark plug, new primer, gaskets and an air filter. We've also got some oil because we're doing an oil change as well. So one of the first things we're going to do on this HP470 is we're going to remove the fuel tank and carburetor assembly. It's held on with two bolts, a 13mm and a 10mm here. There's also a spring linkage inside of here and the crankcase breather hose which is here. These are just push fit, so that'll just pop straight off. So a really important safety tip when you're working on engines such as this is always disconnect the HT lead to the spark plug first. That way the engine can't start. So obviously there's a big blade underneath, we don't want that cutting our fingers. So we'll just disconnect that and the engine can't start now. So just to give ourselves a bit more clearance, I'm going to take this top cover off. It's just held on with a Phillips here. I think this engine's been off and on a few times because it's held on with a wood screw. It's obviously not the original. There's a one back here as well which seems to be a bit rusted, but we can get access there. So now we'll proceed to remove these two bolts here. So we'll start with the first one here, which is 13mm. Just remove the fuel tank lid there, give ourselves a bit more clearance. And we'll whiz that out. There we go, there's the first one out. No washer with it. Next one on the other side is the 10mm. Take that one out as well. So now in theory, the carburetor assembly fuel tank isn't bolted on anymore. It should just come off. Reach in and disconnect. You might not be able to see it, but it is in there. It'll just be a case of flicking it off. If I can get in there and show you there. It's just in there. You might not be able to see it on the camera there, but it's just a hook onto the flywheel fan governor linkage. So we'll just hook that off. I'll just move the top cover there out of the way. And you can see the linkages there. So we're just going to disconnect it here. There we go, with some jiggling we managed to just disconnect it from that little white arm there. Two springs on this side and the main linkage down there. And that's it, we've got the fuel tank, carburetor and air filter off. I'll put the fuel tank cap back on so we don't spill nothing. We'll pour the fuel out now into a container and just check the condition. Might be a bit of water in the bottom, and then we'll get to servicing this unit. So here's the bowl we've got. I'm just going to pour the fuel into this now. Give it one last clean out. We'll pour this fuel in and just see what's in the bottom of the tank. It's a 4-stroke engine, so this is just neat fuel. Get as much as we can out, and then it's just a case we'll just let the fuel settle for a bit. I'll even put it onto an angle, and any water in there will settle in the bottom. Just let it settle in for a bit. I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but there is quite a substantial layer of water in the bottom there. The fuel isn't off colour, it's straw yellow. And as the pickup's in the bottom, the engine would inevitably start picking this water up if it's not already. So this fuel won't be going back in this lawnmower, we'll put some fresh fuel in. There's also quite a bit of debris in the bottom there. So we'll just go through the disassembly now, starting on top. Got the air filter housing, flat blade screwdriver, just unscrew this. that lifts off. The air filter is inside of there. So for the air filter, here's the new one. It's literally just a case of popping the old one out. New one's got a centre. Remove that and just push that in. Pop the lid back on. Put the clips. And that's it. Now for the carburetor, the first thing I'm going to do is quite a bit of dirt build up around the back here. I'm going to give it a quick clean. I've just got some brake cleaner here. Just give it a quick blast just to loosen off. And we'll give it a wipe with a cloth. Or if you haven't got a cloth, another tip, you can use the old air filter. It's just like a big sponge really. The next thing we're going to do is we've got 5 screws, Phillips head, holding the carburetor onto the fuel tank. We'll remove them, so that will disconnect the carburetor from the tank. We'll just go around now, slacken, and remove each of the 5 screws in turn. I'm not sure if they're captive screws or not. I don't think they are, but we'll just get them to off the threads. So there's 5 screws altogether, all Phillips heads. There we go. And now the carb should just lift straight off. There we go. So this bit here is the fuel pickup. Got 2 gaskets. Sorry, you can see that. 2 gaskets pushed together here, which we're going to replace. And on the back we've got the fuel prime button, which we'll replace as well. So we'll do the gaskets on the bottom first. Now these screws all appear to be the same length, so we'll just pop them all out. Got the new gaskets here. We'll take these off as carefully as possible, keeping the same orientation so we can match the new ones up. Just check up on the carb here. Got a screen here, which is probably for the main jet. Spring for the diaphragm pump. Just pressing the priming button slightly. You can see the fuel's coming out of there. So this is the priming circuit, which sucks the fuel up and then squirts it out here. So we'll get the 2 new gaskets out. So here's the 2 new gaskets. And what we're going to do, we're going to mirror image both these gaskets so they go back on together properly. So that one looks that orientation, so we're going to flip it over. And we've got this one which sits like that. When we look at this one and that one together, exactly the same. So it's just a case now of reinstalling it. Okay, so we'll put back on now. We've got the solid gasket on the side of the carburetor, so that's going on first, and then the diaphragm on second. So just orientate it back together the right way and slide it back on. Easy as that. So for removing the prime button, if you look on the sides here, on each side there's 2 tabs. Now you can either press them in and pull it up, or if you're struggling with that, get a flat blade, and you can rotate it, sort of. It's sort of the same thing. You're basically pressing it and pushing it in, but if they're not been out for a while, you might struggle. But it's simple as the 2 tabs. Push them in each side there, and then just get a hold of the button and give it a tug, and there it is. It's popped out. As you can see the 2 tabs I'm on about there on each side. here's the new one. Comes pre-installed with the tab. So you can just, so if you're removing that, you don't worry about damaging the tabs. Now we'll just press it in. And there you go, there's a new button. I removed the old, the new gaskets there while we were just doing that installation. But now it's just a case of putting these back on, and we'll reattach it to the fuel tank. So we'll just pop these back over, flip it over there. We'll put the screws in once we've laid it back on. Just sit like that. There we go. And then we'll get the 5 screws in, tighten them down, and it's time to reinstall the air filter and put it back on the engine. So just pop the carb back on there. I'm just tightening down the 5 screws. There we go, all 5 screws are on. So just stick this hook fell off the linkage, we'll just hook that back on. And now we've got the air filter which goes on and screws through the top. But I might put that on after, just for the ease of putting the linkage back on. Now for the linkage, like I say, I've got the two springs here and here, which hook on, and then the main hook hooks onto the white tab. I'll do it off camera, it's just a bit too fiddly doing it, but let's say you've got the two springs, they hook onto that sort of like pigtail bit midway, and the main hook end hooks onto the white bit. So there we go, I've hooked them all on. The carburetor pushes onto the intake manifold, you've got the crankcase breather there going on. It sort of all just pushes on as one piece. Align the bolt holes here and here. The main one, say remove the fuel cap, bit of clearance, just start that off. And we've got the 10mm on the side. And we'll nip them down with the socket. Just nip these down. Here's the 10mm, and then the 13mm. The fuel cap back on. Now we've got the air filter which we'll put on, and that just drops straight through the middle of the carb there. Flat blade screwdriver. We can just pop the cover back over. So now that's the carburetor fuel tank bit done, and just check that everything is how it came off. There's nothing missing, you haven't got any parts left over, anything like that. It all looks good. So the next step is to remove the spark plug on the front, which we'd already earlier disconnected on the HT lead here. So we'll just go ahead and we'll put our spark plug socket on, and we'll just wind it off there. And you can see there's the condition of it. It's in black. It's a Oregon 77-301-1. So I'm just checking the gap there with the feeler gauges, and it's 0.7. That's the old one. Let's get the new one here, and that's 0.7 as well. I haven't got the actual spec for it, but it came off as 0.7 and it was running. So we'll put the new one on, it's 0.7 as well. This one is a Savior B6SE. It's not the same one, but it's what came in the kit. Installation is the same as the removal. Gap it, start the threads off by hand so you don't cross thread it, and then the final nip it up with a spark plug socket. And yeah, we could have done a compression test, but it's an old lawnmower. I'm not bothered at all. This will run till it stops running, basically. If we're just changing the spark plug, obviously now we'd reconnect the HT lead, but we're going to do the oil and everything still, so we're going to leave that disconnected as a safety feature. Okay, for the oil extraction, we've came over to the oil pump. I've got an electric oil pump here, oil pump removal. I suppose if you didn't have one, oil fillers here, just remove the dipstick, tip it on its side, or you could use a vacuum. The vacuum is basically the same as this electric one. What we've got is we've got the suction. We're just going to put it down the dipstick tube right to the bottom. We'll tip the engine back a bit so all the oil collects, and then it's just a case of running the pump, and the pump pumps out into this waste collection here. I'll just show you quickly. We'll run the pump. You hear it take suction, see the oil coming up here. Once it gets to the pump to get a bit more suction on it. You can hear it there, as you can see there, I've just popped the front wheels up on some little toolbox there. We've just got the suction right down at the bottom. And it's just starting to discharge into the oil pan there now. How you'll know it when it's empty, you just suck it up, you can see there. The tone changes. As you can see, they're not the quickest of pumps, but it's saving having to take it down to the side and all the mess and everything. Also, if you run the engine first and got the oil a lot thinner with the heat, it flows in quicker. This is cold engine, oil's been sitting. And there we go, that's it empty now. You can see all the air in the line. So one of the last steps now is to put the new oil in. So we'll just remove the oil. So remove the dipstick cap. I'm not sure the quantity that goes in at the moment. If in doubt, what we'll do is, because it's a small engine, we'll probably put 100 ml of oil in, and then every 50 or 100 we'll check it every time. I'll probably put 100 in and then just put 50 at a time. Don't want to overfill it. Dipsticks sometimes on some engines will have it written on. This one just says caution, do not overfill, and it gives us our minimum and maximum marks there. So we'll put 100 ml in first. So I ended up putting 600 ml of oil in, and it's on the level. Probably just slightly under, but it'll do for our needs. The oil I was using, it's not the correct oil, just a 5W20. It's all I had on hand. But it'll do the job. It's an old mower. It just gets what it's given, basically. And that's it complete. I'm not doing the blade or anything. Literally just an engine service. And the last step is to reconnect the HT onto the plug. Put some fresh fuel in it and we'll give it a spin. So we've got some fresh fuel. Just got a funnel here. There we go. Put the cap back on. And that's it. Fully serviced. We'll do a test run. Got fuel and oil. There we go. Starts and runs just as expected. Once it's run, just give it a once over, check for leaks, check your oil level again, top up if necessary. But apart from that, it's good to go. So there we have it. That's the HP470 Briggs and Stratton on a Mountfield mower serviced. If you enjoyed that video, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. stay tuned for more videos.